Today, we are diving into something that affects every single business owner at some point. Question is, what do you do when you are avoiding hard conversations? Or questions like, how do you protect your energy in messy meetings or tricky dynamics? And questions like, what does stress have to do with how we lead, how we speak, how we connect? My guest today is Maria Redig, and she is a psychosynthetics therapist. Wow, that's a mouthful. Executive coach, a sound voice therapist, and a communication expert. She has been helping leaders find their voice without losing themselves. And if you have ever felt burned out or emotionally drained or just unsure how to have that one conversation you've been putting off, this episode is for you. Do you ever feel stuck, overwhelmed, or unsure about what to do next to grow your business? You are not alone, and this is the podcast for you. Welcome to Boost Your Business by Business Heroes. This is where service based entrepreneurs, whether you're delivering in person, online, or a mix of both, come to get the strategies, the insights, and actionable steps you need to level up your business with clarity, confidence, and impact. So let's dive in. Maria, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
I am so looking forward to our conversation. And yes, for those that tuning in that don't know you yet, please introduce yourself and tell me a little bit about your passion and your background.
I have been a self-employee since 87, long time now. I never thought about to be a self-employed, but I was brave to do it because in that time I was a hairdresser and I had the possibility to work with the best in Stockholm. And the only way I could do that was to be self-employed, and I did. And that was really something I never regret because I have learned so much and I solved all the problems on the way. And I think that you can solve everything. I have been a hairdresser for 40 years. Now I have been a therapist for 20 years. And as a hairdresser, I go from outside in, and now I go from inside and out. And as a hairdresser, you are talking with people, and you are like the priests in the society. And because all the people come to you every 6 weeks and talk about family, life, birth, death, sickness, and health. My passion is to help people to understand how they work and not picking on others, to listen. It's very important to listen. And I'm a little bit like Pippi Longstocking. I can do everything, and everybody else can also do everything they want. And there is always a positive side of everything. I want to share everything that I have learned about my business and my personal experience. I have been training a lot in running business and working as a therapist and served on several boards and worked international. There is only possibilities. And instead of talking about others, it's to understand your own instruction manual and your history and even the small text in the manual. Then you can understand others when you understand how you work.
And I am so super happy that you are here because I think that the inner work is so important for us that are service based businesses. And how can we lead someone else if we cannot lead ourselves? If we don't
Mm.
know ourselves, how can we get to know someone else? So I am really interested into having this conversation with you today. So I have some things that it's not just about communication skills we're going to deep dive in today. It's about protecting our energy and seeing how we can show up with more clarity and how we can, yeah, like I said before, lead ourselves, but especially when things are very challenging around us. And it's been for the past 5 years. And we've been pivoting and we've been developing ourselves and we've been evolving, but still there is room for improvement for everyone, I think. And the hardest part is not to deliver our work when we are service-based businesses because we are excellent in actually providing the service, but it's more like the mindset and the shift in on and how we find the way we would like to show up for our clients, for our partners, for our family, and our team members. And I think that the inner work that we're going to talk about today is really important for making that happen. So I'm
Mm.
actually looking at a visual that you shared. And if you are listening to this as a podcast, you will be able to look at these visuals in the show notes. It's about parent, adult, and child. And it brings up a lot for me. I've seen some of your training about this before, and I actually went into like you were training me, and I was in the back seat and looking at this and learning a lot about myself through this. Since not everybody have seen this before, can you please explain what is this and how can they recognize their own patterns?
It's three parts. It's the parent, and it's the adult, and it's the child. And this is three parts within all of us. So you have one of these, and I have also that. So when we communicate or meet, we have like a half of a soccer field each. And on your side, you have your parent, adult, and child, and on the other side, that's me. If we have a good conversation, we conversate from the adult, and then you talk to me from the adult, and in the middle of the soccer field you put your what you want to say to me, and I breathe, I be present here and now, I have eye contact with you, I listen, I set boundaries and say stop. I talk about I want, I think, I feel, this is how it is for me. And that's the same for you if you're talking from the adult to me. And then you put it on the half of the soccer field. And then it's my turn to talk on the same thing to you. And then it's a we, and then we can discuss how to do things out from what we both want. And this is how it works if it's a good conversation. But of course, this is not the case in the real world. In our life, also, in the parents and in the child's, it's like in the parent part, you have judge, you have control, you have defender, you have warrior, and you have the codepending. You have the nurse, for example, and also you talk from you and we and point with your whole arm in a way. And then the child part, there you have the defined 3-year-old, the happy 5-year-old, and then the teenager. Fear, guilt, silence. As an adult, to understand, okay, now I'm your father and I'm not. So, okay, what can I do now? Okay, if I'm an adult and I want to talk with you, what can I do? Yes, I can talk from I. I want, I think, I feel. And also, if I'm in my control, for example, in my parent side, and you are also in your control, and we try to communicate there, it's impossible because then it's going to be like a fight, and no one going to understand anything, and that's also like crisis are about, because no one understands, okay, now I'm your father, and then I need to go to the adult to communicate and start to communicate again. And also, for example, in a work, if I talk to you as from the parent, and then you can be the child at work and be the defend 3-year-old if you don't know about it, and then it's very strange because you are looking very, strong and powerful, and in a second you become this 3-year-old. And how can you take care of the 3-year-old yourself instead of being this at work? So if you are a lot in the parent part, you need to then you are protecting also the little child within yourself, and then you need to take care of this. And if you are a lot in the child, you need to find your parent within yourself. So also it's about to think what is the best for me, what is the best for you, and what is the best for us. And that should be in balance. And also in the parent, I should say, these parts are also male and female. So that could also be something to think of.
Yeah, and when I saw this layout and understood the construct of the child and the parent and the adult, I realized when I said like, okay, I move into the parent role sometimes when I'm like in hard conversations with my family, and then I when I listened to your session that I went to, I was like, whoa, okay, so this is why I do this. And now when I get into that mode today, I am so much more to be, oh, sorry, I'm stepping out of this. Let's reframe this. And I'm coming more from an adult kind of
Mm,
way. But, and I
mm,
can also identify with other people when they like go into different roles. And I was like, do you know
mm,
what? Let's reframe this because we are not talking as we should.
mm,
It's easy to when you have a framework to work from, it's easy to
mm.
identify yourself and also
Yeah.
others, and you can
Mm,
say, stop, wait, like
mm,
let's frame this in a different way because we're going to
mm,
get so much more out of this conversation.
mm,
So I think it's
mm,
very powerful, and I'm happy that you brought it with you today, because I think that a lot of people might have heard about it but never
mm,
actually understood it. And now
mm,
we're going
mm.
to do a deep dive into specific things that you can use it in. So
Yeah.
it's really, really good. So the next thing that I want us to walk into is this in the title, we talk about knowing yourself and burnout, boundaries, and better
Mm,
conversation. So
mm,
let's talk about burnout. Let's talk about that it's very common. We still have some boundaries that we don't talk about it. It's kind of shameful.
mm,
And it's not just burnout, it's stress as well, because
mm,
stress turns out to be burnout in the end.
mm,
And you brought up a question that is on a lot of people's mind right now. And it's like, okay, so I identified that I'm stressed. And I think I'm actually on my way to burnout. And how can how can you help me? What are
mm,
your proposals for that? So I want this to be unpacked together today to
mm.
talk about what can people look at when it comes to, like, let's talk about first, like the first signals of burning out. What can they identify? What is the most common things?
She said headaches, and with the teeth together. You know, when you sleep and you can't sleep, and you're tense, and also you don't breathe,
Mm,
and also how much hours you work during the week. If you work more than 40, if you work around 80, and if you have any free time. I think it's about what you eat, your physical activities, negative judgment on others, and also worrying about the future, not being here and now, being in the future, or thinking about the history a lot, regret things, and now my mother is dead and I didn't talk with her, I didn't say I loved her, and in my relationship it's not good, I'm not happy, and I don't do anything about it. And it's about to set boundaries. For example, do you set boundaries to others, or do you give and do you take or receive? Because if you just give, there is no energy left. That's also about breathing, I think. So to be in nature, to have slow walk, it's to have balance between do and be
mm,
also. Some people are only doer, and it's also something to run away from yourself. And that's also stress. And that's also what are you running from? Is it from yourself? Yeah, and also it's really having fun, and playtime is very important. Because if you don't have fun, and if you don't laugh, and if you don't love, it's, I mean, life is here and now, and that's all what it is about.
when you talk about all these signs to being stressed out and like the early signs of burnout, all those
Mm,
feelings, I'm thinking that, like you said, like you need to have time off, you need to have fun. But why
mm,
do a lot of like service-based business owners feel like they're guilty when they are actually shutting down their
mm,
office and their mental space and yes, being or having
mm,
fun?
mm.
What does that guilt come from?
That guilt is the inner child. The inner child has this guilt, and the inner child has the guilt because the feeling of not being enough, maybe hasn't heard I love you, you are enough, just being who you are. And then in life you get a career and you do your best, and you are, you know, the best of the best, and it's not enough. Everybody heard about the big boss that just waiting for someone coming into the office, and oh, it's the 3 year old sitting there. So it's also about that feeling. So when you are in the parent part all the time, because all these working and different parts, it's only about that you are in the parent part, and then you are protecting your inner child. So if you don't breathe, you are only working, it's only your head there are functioning in your life, and the whole body, you need to move into your body, because there is where all the feelings are. And if you start to breathe, then the feelings will come. And that's also the fear. So if you have a parent part of yourself, you are working like codepending, or like if you are addicted to something, you can be addicted to work, to sex, to alcohol, or food or no food, or gambling, or whatever. Everything is the same. You can be in the parent part, like working like crazy, and like it was a war, and everything is about this, and there is no war. So if you just sit down and breathe, and what is it about? It is no war, and you are still working like this. Whose eyes are watching you? Who has this judge on you so you feel this guilt? I think that's really a stress.
I think that my best ideas comes when I go out walking with the dogs in the forest, just
Yeah.
close by. Like I
Mm,
have a few times a day where I just quit everything and just go into nature and
yeah.
do fun things with them. I do
Mm,
searches, I do tricks, I do things that enjoys with them, and
mm,
we are doing like exploring and doing totally different things than I do in my work.
mm,
But that
mm,
gives me new ideas, new insights. So even if I've been working on a like a script for a podcast, or I've been working
mm,
on a like a part of our education in Business
mm,
Heroes Academy, and I
mm,
come back after that walk by
mm,
just being off, I
mm.
am so much more present and I see
Yeah.
things from different angles. And I think that if I didn't take those like moments, I would be
Mm,
stressed out. So
mm,
I think that the importance is not like I am guilty. I feel like I'm nurturing myself when I actually
mm,
take the time off. So it's like a
mm.
shift to think
Yeah.
of saying, hey,
Mm,
do you know what? This is actually
mm,
good for you to have
mm.
scheduled in time for you and
Yeah.
fun and other
Mm,
things that is not in your business.
mm.
So thank
And
you
then
so much for bringing those things up. That could be something that you do instead of taking time off.
mm. And also when some people don't know, if they don't have a dog or not used to go out for a walk, and also have this big pressure on themselves, they don't know where shall I go, why shall I, what I, it's no meaning. One thing you can do, if this is a I'm talking about the little child then with the guilt. And if you are right-handed, you put up your left hand like this. And then if you are left-handed, you put up your right hand. But then you can put in your thumb and squeeze the other fingers around and take down the hand. And if you squeeze this, you can feel your little child that you're holding her hand. And that's the guilt you are holding there. And then you can say to her, no worries, I take care of this. Now we're going to go out for a walk. And then you take small steps, like if you are walking with, for example, a 5 year old, it doesn't matter. It's not a running or a quick walk. Just walk and see what you can see on the ground. It's enough. And schedule to go out. And one, I mean, 30 minutes is better than nothing.
And like you said, it doesn't have to be a power walk and it doesn't have to be a social walk. But I think that when you said like it's important that we are breathing, like when I go outside, I cannot stop breathing because I want to smell the new flowers in the spring, or
Mm,
I want to, when I get into movement, my body automatically starts breathing in a different way than in a tense moment in front of a
mm,
computer, for example. So I
mm,
think it's important for us to think about what can trigger things to work
yeah.
as they should be, and
Mm,
walking is a simple way of doing that. I
mm,
think. So when you talked about we are stopping to breathe, what can we do to actually do some breathing, incorporate more breathing that are intentional into our lives?
mm. I have a very easy exercise to do. And then if you close your eyes and just sit, and then you breathe uh, in your nose, and then exhale in your mouth, and really uh, do some sounding, or so you can hear that you breathe out, because that's important. And then you breathe in again through your feet up into your body, up to your head, and then you breathe out through your mouth, and really to exhale everything in your body that you don't want to have there any longer. And then you can start counting on one when you breathe in, and one when you breathe out. And then you do this to counting up to 10. And then you start again from one. And if you don't know where you are, it doesn't matter if you're just counting one all the time, because the counting is the most important, because then you let go of the brain. So count one, 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 one. And that you can do when you go for a walk too. And you can have this fresh air, and really be another person when you come back.
That is super helpful. I think that these easy things that we can incorporate and even have like on our phone. Sometimes, like I have a health app on my phone, and it actually says like you should stand up now, or you should
Mm,
actually do like breathing exercises. So it's scheduled, and
yeah.
it's by intention, because I want to be more intentional in how I build my life.
Mm,
And I think that's one of the things that lessens the stress.
mm. And also easiness. I
Hmm.
think no pressure, easy. Lay down, sit in the chair at your office, and breathe for a little while, or lay down, or go to the toilet and lay down on that floor if you don't if you can't anywhere else. And also to know, are you at work now or are you at home? I think that's also important to separate. And what is happening now with me, is this from my home or is it work? Because if you are at your work, you need to let your personal private things be at home, and take care of that when you don't work. I think that's very important too, with this
Yeah,
stress and so.
and those kind of boundaries when a lot of us are having at least a few hours we work from home, or maybe whole full time working from home, it's easy to feel like you are in the bedroom sitting there, and then it's no free time at all because you always
Mm,
look at the computer in some kind of way. But if
yeah.
you have a location where you are a hairdresser, or you are
Mm,
like meeting your people in person all the time, it's
mm,
easier to maybe to have the boundaries.
mm,
But sometimes you actually bring something from your, like say like you had a heated conversation in the morning, you go to a bit to the work and you bring that feeling with you to work. But like
mm,
you said, it's a mindset to say, hey, when I'm moving away from my house, I'm leaving those
mm,
feelings there because I have
mm,
to focus on something else now,
mm,
and I have to take care of that when I come home. But it's
mm,
super hard
yeah.
to do those
and
things.
and then it's all about the body, so then you need some tools to do something to release this before work. You can breathe, or you can do some sound exercise to really let out, because if you swallow everything, it's just getting more and more. And also you can express something to your who you meet at your work, for example. And this person doesn't know anything about your home situation or anything, and then this was the first person you met, and that person got something that wasn't hers or his. Take responsibility for yourself, and okay, now I enter, do some kind of, or now I enter work. You don't have to be on the computer all the time or answer the phone always when it's calling. I mean, before you didn't even have these kind of phones, and life was perfect anyway. To schedule when can you reach me, and people can leave messages, and yeah, it depending on the work, as you said.
And it's also setting boundaries and expectations when you have clients. If
Yeah.
you are a coach, for example, you
Mm,
have a coaching package that
yeah.
is deliverables. But if
Yeah.
you say, hey, you can call me anytime,
Mm,
it makes you are not setting the boundaries. And then the expectation is that you should be available all the time. Instead
yeah.
of saying, do you know what? We have office hours, this hours, we have these meetings that are
Mm,
scheduled. If you
mm,
want to email me, don't I'm just looking at my emails once a day and responding to them. So they
mm,
don't, whatever your boundaries are, you have to be
yeah.
very clear, because otherwise, and it's not hard for the person who gets the boundaries explained to them. They will say, hey, okay,
Mm,
now I know what to expect. But
mm,
if you are sometimes saying, hey, do you know what? I'm calling them at night, or I'm
mm,
checking in between meetings because I
mm,
want to be
mm,
friendly, or I have time doing that, so I want to over
mm,
deliver. It will
mm,
beat you, like it will get back to you in a bad way, because now you open up the door to not having boundaries that you are working with yourself, because you
exactly.
thought that you could be flexible. But the
Yeah.
flexible thing is actually what's stressing you out and actually can make you burn out. So
Yeah.
it's important to have those kind of boundaries, both for the
Mm,
family and for your team members and for your
mm,
clients.
mm,
So, and for yourself, what is, like you
mm,
said, I want to have time for going out for exercise or doing something
mm,
fun. Then
mm,
it can't bleed into something else, and then you
mm,
feel guilty of being off when you,
mm.
like, you have to figure out your boundaries.
If you don't have boundaries, you are in the parent part,
Hmm.
and that's also important,
So
because if you go to the adult, there you have boundaries. And also a child, needs boundaries, because if the child get candy or can do whatever they want in the school or everywhere, it's going to be chaos. So it needs to be boundaries, but also it's not about to be kind. It's no use to be too kind. I mean, in work you need to be professional, and you are professional if you also care for yourself, and also take a price of who you are, and not be too cheap on your service.
hmm,
That's also something
yeah.
that can stress you because of the price, or yeah, I give 1,000% and I only get paid this much.
And getting paid is different from actually saying, hey, this is my value, this is my worth, this is what how much you should pay me, and this
Yeah.
is my price point. And if
Yeah.
you, like you said, if you are not confident in that and putting your boundaries in that and
Mm,
packaging your service in a way that
mm,
you feel like, I love working with these people, I love giving them the transformation I can give them in my service,
mm,
and I'm
mm,
doing it in within my value set that I have.
mm. Yeah.
Because like you said, if you are, like, a lot of people that come into the Business Heroes Academy realizes that they actually kind of pay to go to work, because they're
Mm,
doing things in their work that they shouldn't be doing. That's not their genius zone. It's more like maybe they do bookkeeping still, or maybe they're
mm,
doing other things that no one they shouldn't do. And
mm,
now they're stressed out because they feel like, I'm doing things that I am not paid for, and I'm
mm,
actually paying a lot of money to do it myself, instead of outsourcing it to someone else who enjoys doing it.
mm,
And so it's just not draining me on energy, it's draining me on money. And then I have a few
mm,
clients, and they are not paying enough for covering every hour of my week.
mm,
And because they think that they should be paid by hour instead of paid by value. So
mm,
when you start reframing those things and you get like in your core feeling like, okay,
mm,
I'm now packaged my things, I have boundaries around it, I get
mm,
paid for what I'm worth, and I'm giving the
mm,
transformation to the right people.
mm.
That could also be a reason why you're stressed if you're not thinking
Absolutely.
that way.
And also you can be stressed about I cannot do this. I'm good at my profession, but I cannot do this business stuff. And also then you can think, okay, do you know anyone in the world or in the movies or whatever? I mean, I can think of you and do as if I were you. You can borrow someone else in the movie or whatever. Do you look up to? Who is your idol or whatever? And then I can borrow you, for example, Sarah. And if I am you, what would you do? And then I can have your clothes on and I can walk and pretend I'm you, and then it's easier until I get it.
And I actually had someone say that if you want to be this kind of person, if that's where you want to go, because now you're stressed out, you want to figure things out, you want to have a transformation to become someone else. If you start dressing like that person,
Yeah.
that's your future you. Or if you start
Mm,
talking as your future you, if you get
mm,
paid as your future you are
mm,
actually stepping into the future you much faster.
yeah.
And I think that's also like a really good way of doing it. So
Mm,
I think this has been really interesting to talk about the stress and burnout, but I think that we should move on to the next
yeah,
subject if
yeah,
that's
yeah,
okay with
yeah.
you. This is also something that's really powerful as a scenario you talked about, which was that avoidance. Like you could
Yeah.
avoid going into a meeting with someone, you can
Mm,
avoid reaching out to someone, even if you
mm,
know you should, you
mm,
kind of avoid it. So
yeah.
you talked about that as one of the things that your clients talk to you about, like how can I have a mindset around this? And I, when we talked before, I think thought this was really powerful to share with our audience. So
Mm,
could you just talk about why do we wait for the right time when the right time is kind of now, but we're trying to push
mm,
it forward, or
mm,
things like that? It's like it's a discomfort for us. So how can we be more comfortable to take that meeting or take up that phone or send that email that we are avoiding?
mm. I think it's a lot about the little child here, because the little child are insecure and afraid, and it depending on your history, I should say, and how much you know about yourself. And also, yeah, about this hand, take the little child in the hand, and then I take care of this, and then you can maybe work a little easier. But also, I think it's also reflecting on your life, because this person that you are having a meeting with maybe reminds you about your father, for example, and this person maybe have a voice that scares you, or maybe can be angry and you are afraid of that. If you're waiting longer and longer, it's going to be your fear is getting bigger and bigger, and then it's so big and you are so small. So if you just think of yourself as a 2-year old or a 3-year old, and your fear is like a monster up to the universe, then it's really hard to get a meeting. But if you understand this with yourself and can take the hand and take I mean a good parent with you, then you can act from the adult, and also to breathe and to really prepare. And also, when you communicate, it's good to think like how a story is. In the story, it's always a good start. You are beautiful, you are perfect as you are, and I appreciate you as blah 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 blah. And then it's also always a but. And then all the bad things comes, and in the end it has to be like a party or good things, and now we continue and now we can work together and we can meet and blah blah blah. So I think not just like a judge say one thing and maybe with a hello, is it okay if I talk with you now, and be friendly, and also maybe use your 5-year-old's voice and put your eyebrows a little higher and be, what voice do you use and how do you do it? Why are you afraid? Who is this person for you? Some people are harder than other, and it depends on your history. Feeling is only within you for 3 seconds or maybe 1 minute, and if it's longer, it has nothing to do with that person. It has with your history to do, and then you have to look into this to understand yourself and why.
Like going inside of yourself and knowing yourself makes this much easier to recognize your own patterns. Like why, like you said, why do I avoid doing this? Instead of just saying I'm pushing it forward, saying, okay, that's interesting. Why did I do that? Because I had it on my list. I had it scheduled on my call, like my agenda, even if it was not maybe a scheduled meeting, but I was supposed to follow up with them, and I
Mm,
don't do it. I do something on the next thing on my list.
mm,
If now when I talk to you, I realize that all the things that I'm pushing forward, why do I? Like ask that
mm,
question to yourself. It's been really
mm,
changing my way of looking at things after I
mm,
had the conversation with you before. Because now
mm,
I'm more curious. I'm leading in and say, hey, that's cute. That's interesting. Why did I
mm,
do this? Why am
mm,
I avoiding this? To
mm,
just figure that out, if it was the voice or if it was the topic or if it was the
mm,
setting or it was in my mood, what is
mm,
it, and how can
mm,
I go in and actually say, okay, that's interesting, that's not going to hold me back, because in
mm,
my bigger vision I need to do this to come to the next phase.
mm,
Yeah. To make that more important, my why more important than the obstacle that I see in front of me. I think that a lot of us do this unconsciously, like pushing things that's still on our list that we've
yeah.
been having on our list for maybe days or weeks or even
Mm,
longer, because
yeah.
we don't want to deal with it because something
Mm,
is holding us back. And
mm,
being curious will help, I think, to at least it
yeah.
helped me
Mm,
to deep dive into myself and say, okay, I know now why this is a problem. Okay, so
mm,
how can I make that shift? So I
yeah.
actually had a good way of actually checking in with someone that I like in the morning and say, hey,
Mm,
I'm going to have this conversation. It's going to be tough for me, but I need to have that. It could be that I need to fire a client, where I might need to say something that to someone that I haven't said before, and I feel
mm,
unconscious. Can we just have a conversation? I can like practice with you so I
mm,
feel more
mm,
comfortable.
mm,
And they were like, oh really, that's really good, because now I can practice with you. And now
mm,
it opens up that knot or something that you felt. And in Business Heroes Academy, when we have our weekly meetings, we
mm,
have that possibility to say, hey, do you know what, I'm going to do this my first time, can I
mm,
practice with someone?
yeah. Yeah.
Because I think it's so powerful when you learn how to do that, that
Mm,
it keeps you step over the avoidance and get into action.
yeah. And also when you practice, also to sit in that other chair of the person you're going to talk to,
Hmm.
because how do you want you yourself, if you met yourself, how would you appreciate that you talk to me, you know?
Hmm.
So that's also not on only on the one side. Both sides is better, because then you have a bigger vision.
Yeah, you had better understanding about the
Yeah.
whole the like 360 view
Mm,
of the conversation or the task, because it could be
yes.
that you're avoiding doing a task as
Mm,
well as having conversation. So why aren't
mm,
you doing the task? Maybe because
mm,
I'm not clear, I don't understand, that's why I'm stuck,
mm,
and I don't know
mm,
how to get out of here. So I need to have a
mm.
game plan, or I need to have a step by step instruction so I can follow along.
Yes.
And now I done it once, okay, now you do it
Mm,
twice, now you do it three
yeah.
times, now it's not a task anymore, it's a habit.
Yes, exactly. I had another one. You have this square with four squares in, and also if you have a list, you can put your things, you can have one of these every week, for example, and then you can put it, is it important, in a hurry? Is it important, less rush? Is it in a hurry, less important? Less rush, less important. And then you can refill this every week, and maybe you can move this to next week. Also, when you have done something, you just make a note, and then also less important, less rush. This is all something you may never do anything about. Sometimes you need to to move this to import it in a hurry. So then it's a flow in everything. So this could be a good tool to
Yeah.
use in this.
Let's put that in the show notes. And I
Mm,
also think that the that quadrant also explains things that are sometimes we delegate and we outsource
mm,
things that are not
yeah.
important and no rush. So why
Mm,
do we even pay someone to do it? Like
yeah.
it's important. It's less like interesting if we do it ourselves. Like
Mm,
it's important to stop doing things that we're not supposed to do. It's just
mm,
because everybody else is doing things we shouldn't.
mm,
We are
mm,
going to like really identify what's important for us, what is going to
mm,
move the needle for us in our business
mm,
or for
mm,
ourselves. And
mm,
then when we look at that list, like you said, you had a really good quadrant of, okay, I'm doing all these things and I shouldn't. Or
mm,
maybe I should automate them, or maybe I should
mm,
have an AI tool that do a lot of them. But
mm,
a lot of things are not even important. And then
mm,
people pay for automation or they pay for AI to do things,
mm, mm,
but they shouldn't do it. So I
mm,
think that the avoidance maybe is a guidance, like a compass, saying, "Do you know what? Maybe this is not important." But to
mm,
find that out, I think the quadrant is going to
yeah.
help, be a very helpful tool to be that compass and say,
Mm,
"Okay, my gut feeling says I'm always pushing this away, and
mm,
maybe that's not important." But
mm,
the
mm,
most things that you said that are important in that quadrant, like if you're not doing it, someone else should do it right away, or you should
mm,
automate that, or you should like have AI tools doing it for you if it's important, if it's rushed.
mm. And
So,
this one, and this one you can really have a big one at your office, and that everybody is a part of, so you can see it big, and then you can do whatever you want to do with this, but no one is controlling you. You are going to do this. You can do it because you want to. So a flow. So if you do everything yourself, you are in the parent and in control. And also this square you can put on the refrigerator at home with your family, and for every week, and then you don't have to tell your husband now you have to vacuum, and maybe he doesn't want to even, but then the family also can help each other. It's not only one person, and it's not only one person in a business either, because if you have control and do everything, all the others at your work don't like to work there, because I have that experience, and I had control, and I gave everything, and I thought it was good thing. But when I started to ask if when it was time for me to get something back, they quit.
hmm.
So that's not good thing to do.
So I'm really happy that you brought that framework up, because I think that's going to be a very powerful tool to see both in the stressed and when you're getting burned out, that you maybe have too much on your list and maybe it's in
Mm,
the wrong bucket and you're
mm,
prioritizing the wrong way because you are stressed, so you can't
yeah.
prioritize at all. But having
Mm,
that in a framework is really good for that, and as well
mm,
for the avoidance to see
mm,
how what does that actually fit,
mm,
and do you have the like the tools to get where you want to be, get those things done, or
mm.
level up the way that you want.
Ask for help.
But I think that we are going to be more happier as people if we are
Mm,
only doing our the things that we love, that we are
yeah.
passionate about. That when we are in that zone working on those things, we
Mm,
light up. And if
mm,
that's the case, do more of those things and have other
mm,
people asking you to help them do those things. So
mm,
you can have all the things that you don't like in your business or in your home, someone else can
mm,
take care of that. Like
mm,
you can give that to them and they will be super happy that they have more to do with is in
mm,
their genius zone.
mm,
And
mm.
I think that when we start doing those things, we are actually growing as people. We people are more happy. We will have so much like downside as we have sometimes when we try to
Yeah.
do everything ourselves.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
Let's move on to better conversations
Yeah.
part, because we touched on the conversations before a
Yes.
little bit, but I want
Mm,
us to think about dynamic of meetings, like when
mm,
you and I talk a lot when we meet, and we are very passionate in what we do and what we want to do. And sometimes you step into an environment, a meeting, or you go into maybe a Zoom room, and people start talking and they never quit,
mm,
and they
mm,
take over the meeting.
mm,
Um, and it's easy when you're so passionate, and it's easy to think that, oh, I'm gonna save the world by giving all this information out like a fire hose to everyone, and not reading the room, not
mm,
thinking about that. So what can we do when people are taking that like whole room, and the air is kind of out, or they
mm,
are interrupting everyone to share their
mm,
idea about that?
mm. There is someone needs to lead the meeting. I think that's very important to lead, have a leader, to have regular meetings. So it's not regular meetings, because if you don't have meetings at all, a lot of people, they have been waiting so long for these meetings, so they have so much to say, and they need to be heard. And that's also something to think about. I think regular meetings is very important, because people needs to be seen and to be worthy and to be good, and they need to know that you see them in the business. So I think that's one thing that is important. It's good to have a talking stick. A talking stick is, this is my talking stick, and you can find this in the woods, like a piece of wood. It could be a pen, it could be anything really. And the person who has this talking stick, of course, it's a time frame, even if you don't say anything, because some people are afraid to talk. Maybe it's a practice to start talking, but even they can have the talking stick, and then they can be quiet, because it's their time. They are holding this until they are done, and then it's the other one who takes this. It's That's the only person who can talk, and then the leader take notes, and then you summarize everything in the end. These people who are talking all the time, as we know now, they are not breathing. They are talking for in and out breathing, and then they need to really breathe. And maybe you can start the meeting with a breathing exercise, or doing something to collect the group before starting, because
Mm.
then everyone is calming down a little bit. You don't know where they come from. For the ones who are talking all the time and want to tell about everything, they are also in the parent. They want to do everything and tell everybody everything, because they are used to take care of things. This person should think, should it be said now? Should it be said by me? Should it be said at all? What is the purpose then? Breathe and count to 10 before you say anything more, and write it down until it's your turn. Because most of the times it's not for you to say. And I remember when I was a lot in my parent, and I was telling everybody everything, because I had done everything. And if you're going to start a business, oh, well, then I can tell you, you can do this. I'm going to write a list to you. And yeah, I'm going to go to Australia. Yeah, but I have been there. I do a list for you, and you can do it. And nobody asked for anything. And they are in their life, and they can do whatever, and they can explore on their way, and how they do it in their pulse. I walked too fast, and I was really a parent. And when I breathe and count to 10, it's no use to say all these things. If you ask me, I can tell you. If you want to, if I can help you with something, I'm here. But wait for people to come.
I think that is a really good lesson to learn, because I know so many, we are so experts in our area and our expertise. And if someone just hints a little bit that they are like having a thought about this, or maybe they're curious about this, but they haven't asked you, and you
Mm,
like go fire hose them with everything, and they're
mm,
like,
mm,
whoa, I didn't ask
yeah.
for this. And then some
Mm,
of us who are sharing so much, we get offended when they don't take action on the things that we said they should do. Like
mm,
you said, okay, if you go into Australia and I said that you're going to go to these three top things,
mm,
and they didn't because they chose to
mm,
do something else.
mm,
A lot of people get offended that they didn't listen to their advice.
mm,
So
mm,
I think it's interesting to see both sides
mm,
in that conversation as well.
mm. There you can be, instead, when this person come back, you can be bitter because they didn't do as you said, and this parent who are really talking to you, and I said you should. So it's also about knowing yourself. This is also belonging to be stressed and burned out and everything, because you give out a lot of energy where you can do something for yourself.
So powerful. I went to BNI meetings recently in Phoenix. I went to three of them
Mm,
in 1 week because I was there for
mm,
a conference. And I take notes when I go to other BNI teams since I'm the vice president of our team. So I'm curious what they do different because we follow the same agenda all the time. And so
mm,
it's easy to come to guest other groups. And that's
mm,
something that you can do as a member.
mm,
But the thing that the first team did was they had a stuffed animal. So
mm,
they were like 50 people in the room and guests. But the 50 people that was part of the group held a stuffed animal. And I was like,
mm,
maybe that's her support animal, but it's like a stuffed one because you can't bring dogs in here, I thought, because it's
mm,
really a lot of people have support animals that help them with both the uncomfortable things to be in a meeting or meet
mm,
other people, but
mm,
also maybe for they are diabetic or they have another, like they have the support dog for those kind of things. But then I
mm,
saw that no, it's not a dog, it's a stuffed animal, and she's passing it forward. And I was like, oh, that's so smart. So they were standing there holding the stuffed animal, talking about their thing, and they had a few, like maybe 25, 30 seconds to talk, and they had
mm,
prepared for it. But still,
mm,
no one was interrupting them because they held that stuffed animal.
mm. Yeah.
So, and in the other group, it was that they were holding something else. So
Mm,
it was really smart, like you say, the talking stick. So it could be
mm,
not just in like internal meetings, it could actually be in more formal settings as well, that it works
yeah.
really well.
And families.
Oh, yeah.
Families too. Meetings are very important in families also, to really be present and to breathe. And maybe nothing has to be said, but in this square, what shall we do for this week? And okay, let's set up this and on the fridge, and then, we have a good start.
Yeah.
Mm,
Absolutely. This has been a really valuable conversation. I was so pumped up before we jumped on this call since I know you and I know that you have so much to share and you're a really good person who to make it simplified because this is like psychology, it could be very fluffy and you
mm,
made it so concrete, so very tangible and very like step by step and had really good like stories around it so we can see ourselves in those situations and see that we can use those tools that are in the show notes now so you can look at them as well. So
mm.
thank you so much. Is there anything else you want to add?
I think some tools I want to give away as a giveaway. If you are stressed, you can massage your jaw, because here you are very tense. Your eyebrows, you can massage them and press them, because here is where the headache is. So massage your head, and really not a little hard, but not too soft. And then you can pick it like this, because then you get some air around so you don't get headaches. You can use sounds, like for example, if you need to relax yourself, you can use an A sound.
Hmm.
And it's like ah, like if you ah, and if you just breathe in, and then you can ah.
Ah.
Exactly. And then you can do this for some times, and you can really feel that something is leaving your body. And
Hmm.
also that you can have a book where you can take notes, and before you go to sleep, you can, what is in your head, you can write it down there. So then you don't need to take it with you in your sleep. And if you have to take care of something, write it in your book. Or if you met a person, write it in your book. It's only for you, it's like a friend.
Hmm.
So it's good. And it's not about the computer, it's about to write with your hand, because something is coming out from your body, and that is really good. So if you stand up, and then you also use this A sound, and then you can massage yourself and clap all your body, and also shake it, because sometimes you get too stiff, and just shake and shake your arms and your legs and free yourself. So that's something I want to give to you. And also, I want to give this text, if we have time, about what is it about to listen.
Hmm.
Do I have time
Yeah,
to share this? Yeah.
let's do it.
Okay. Listen. When I beg you to listen to me and you start to give me advice, then you don't do what I ask you for. When I beg you to listen to me and you start to tell me why I shouldn't feel like this, you walk on my feelings. When I beg you listen to me and you feel that you have to do something to solve my problems, you let me down. How common it seems. Listen. Everything I asked you of was to listen, not talk and do. Just listen. And I can handle myself. I'm not helpless. Maybe discurrent and lacking, but not helpless. When you do something for me that I can do myself, you contribute to my anxious and weakness. But when you accept me, what I feel, and how I feel it, it doesn't matter how irrational it is. Then I can stop trying to convince you and can start my work to understand what's behind all these feelings. And when that is clear, then the answers are obvious, and I don't need any advice anymore.
Thank you for sharing. I hope that we can put that in the show notes as well, so people can take print it out and have it in front of them and feel like if they have someone that they want to share with, but they know that they're gonna be asked questions or getting advice, and they
Mm,
don't want it, that they can hand it over and say, "Hey, I want to have a conversation. I want to share, but here is the boundaries I have around the sharing." So thank you so much.
absolutely. You're
So
welcome.
how can people get to know you better? Like how can they get in touch with you if they want to have a conversation with you, like we had before?
On my home site or my mail, and I'm also in LinkedIn.
Okay.
So some of these channels, it's
So
the
I will
best
put the
stuff.
links in the show notes so everybody can get in touch with you, and because you
Yeah.
have so much to give and you are so thoughtful, and I really enjoy having you as a friend. So thank you so much for joining this show today, and I am super happy to have had you with all your frameworks and insights. So thank you, thank you.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure and it was very fun. Thank you, everybody.
Whew, that was a big one. If your nervous system is letting out a little exhale right now, you are not alone. And here's the thing, being a business owner doesn't mean that we are supposed to know how to navigate every dynamic perfectly, but it does mean we get to grow, one aligned conversation at a time. If today's episode sparks something in you, maybe a desire to set better boundaries, speak up more clearly, or just show up more fully in your business, know this. You are not behind, and you are just becoming the next version of you. And if you like support on that journey, we would love to welcome you inside of Business Heroes Academy. That's the place where we grow together through clarity and accountability and a real community. So until next time, keep showing up with courage, clarity, and kindness.